adjustments too.
Thank you all. It's a very informal program, at least on my end, because I know you didn't come here to listen to me. And we want to thank Dr. Najud for being with us. But just real quick, I know a lot of you are familiar with ADC and the work we do, and I took over as executive director in September. And one of the initiatives I wanted to implement when taking over is how we can empower the Arab community in many ways in this country, including empowering us, economically and education-wise. And being a father of 2 daughters, and Izzy's here, who's 5, and she's the reason you got, snacks out there with sprinkles on them. So, for those of you not fasting, we can thank her for those. But the issue of women, Arab girls in STEM has been something that I've been really researching a lot since having daughters and figuring out what exactly is this issue, what could we work on, and the more I dove into it, the more I realized that we have some phenomenal women that are currently in the STEM field and that have been in the STEM field in years past. And if you do the research going all the way back, to the 1930s and 40s, there's been influential Arab women leading in this field, and we want to continue doing that. In order to be fully ingrained into this country, we have to provide opportunities for our children and opportunities for the up and coming generation. And through ADC, we're implementing a number of mentorship programs to help students that are maybe high school students, college age students, connecting them with professionals, connecting them with individuals who can mentor them in the field as they graduate, as they pursue their career, and as we form the next generation of leaders in this field. So with that, that's just briefly on what we're doing. We'll be releasing more information on that in the future. If you have any questions, Janat, our national organizer, is here. We also have with us Chris, who's our policy and advocacy director, and Yasmin, who's our communications manager. So any questions about the program or about EDC, we'll be happy to answer them for you. But the reason you're here, Dr. Najud Morenci is with us from NASA. I have her bio here. I know most of you know her, have looked it up. A proud Palestinian American and chief of NASA's Exploration Mission Planning Office. One of the leaders of the Artemis missions, which aims to fly astronauts back to the moon for the first time in a generation. Najud garnered headlines by stating the hashtag Yalla to the Moon to celebrate the landmark launch. By sharing the Yalla hashtag and wearing her Palestinian thobe in her official NASA photo, Dr. Najud showed herself as a role model for Arab Americans in space and beyond. And we're happy to have you with us here. I looked at the Artemis website, and it says they want to launch the first woman and the first person of color to the moon. I see no reason it can't be an Arab woman, checking out both of those boxes sometime in the future. So thank you for that. Thank you for the leadership and the trailblazing you're doing in this field. And the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me. First, thanks for the promotion, but I'm not a doctor. I joke I work for a living, right? So thanks for having me. I've been with NASA, both as contractor and civil servant, for over 20 years now. I'm very excited about the work I do, and excited to have so much interest and get to speak to you today, because obviously women in STEM is something near and dear to my heart, and as well as encouraging others to join the field and be an active part of it. So with that, I'm going to get into some slides. There's a video to start, but thank you for having me.
Do you have the projection on? You can just hit the stand. Yeah, the stand by button should be. Good. You turn it on a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like it's appearing now. There we go. There we go.
There it is.
All right.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Our return to the moon will be different than the last time. We plan to explore more of the lunar surface and
The
learn
space
how
launch
the
system
moon
is now counting down to liftoff of Orion on its maiden voyage to the moon. And here we go. Package burn off igniters initiated. 7, 6, 5. 4-stage engine start. 3, 2, 1. Boosters in ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1. we rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
We are all part of something incredibly special, the first launch of Artemis.
This view of Earth from a human-rated spacecraft not seen since 1972 during the final Apollo missions.
Distant retrograde orbit, we're going to be about 30,000 miles away from the lunar surface. We're going beyond anywhere we ever went for Apollo.
The Orion spacecraft is barreling its way back home after circumnavigating the moon and beyond in an elliptical distant retrograde orbit. Splashdown. Orion back on Earth.
So I wanted to start with that video because what we're talking about isn't just PowerPoint charts. It's not paper anymore. We really did this, and I'm very excited about a lot of the things you saw in there. I got to have a part in, part of the thousands, right? It takes thousands to put these things together, make them work successfully, do it safely for our crews. The first flight you just saw was uncrewed because this was our test flight so that we can put people on the next mission safely, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But first, how did I get here is where I'd like to start. So this is where I grew up. This is Olympia, Washington, Tumwater, right down here at the end. Seattle's right here in the picture. So this was taken by the space shuttle. So this was taken in the 80s when I was a kid. So I can wave picture somewhere, right? But so I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. I loved growing up there. My dad immigrated, however, from Nazareth, Israel, or Palestine. And I still get to go see all my family there. I have many, many ummos and umpties and all my cousins. We all have lots of cousins, right? And so between Palestine and Seattle, like these are my homes, and this is where I have been growing up throughout my life. But from these places, I actually got my undergraduate degree at the University of Washington. My bachelor's is in aeronautical and astronautical engineering. I always loved engineering, science, things like that. It's what I'm good at. So obviously, and then getting to play with the coolest toys off the planet, spacecraft, airplanes. To me, that's the best part of engineering. We have the best Legos in the world. Then I moved to Houston and also got a degree in systems engineering at the University of Houston, Clear Lake. Quite conveniently, it's just outside the gates of NASA. So I could both work and get my master's at the same time while I was there. So this is now where I call home, which is Houston, Texas. NASA sits right there off the Galveston Bay, the city of Houston, just up to the top. But this is the home of Johnson Space Center. So this is my home center, but I'm obviously up here at headquarters quite frequently now. As we're planning the missions to the moon. But JSC, and the reason I really wanted to work at Johnson Space Center is because being the home of human space flight, that is always where my greatest interest lies, because exploration, the going beyond, the doing things bigger than ourselves, there's nothing bigger and better than being able to send the people that are going to touch distant worlds and bring us all along for the ride while they do. My first job was on the International Space Station. So this was 2002 when I actually started. So the space station was a little baby space station at the time. And I actually supported it throughout much of the assembly sequence you see here. So I really learned how spacecraft work, how engineering works, systems engineering. This was my first spaceship. So a lot of what we learn in engineering you do on the job, and it's truly no different for me. This was where I learned how we fly people in space. Very proud of this work, But what I always wanted to do was go beyond. So when we started what was at the time Constellation, now it's the Artemis program, I transitioned over to work on Orion, which is the multi-purpose crew vehicle for the very boring engineering programmatic name of it, but Orion, a more fun name. But I started doing vehicle integration and mission analysis. So a lot of the systems you see, this was my second spaceship, right? We were a part of putting this together, working with the contractors, working with the European Space Agency. Everything from here down was built by ESA, the European Space Agency, and their contractors. So all of our programs, one of the best parts of human spaceflight, we get to do it as an international endeavor that includes partners for both, good reasons, like all good reasons, right? We go as humanity, we go together, and all of our programs reflect that, including Orion and Artemis. And then from working on actually the systems of Orion, I started doing the mission planning and integration. So this was, how do we actually go to the moon? So in that video we saw for Artemis 1, the distant retrograde orbit, how many days could we go for the mission? How were we going to get Orion safely there and back? My team did a lot of that work. So very proud of that mission and all that we accomplished there. And now we've already been looking beyond. So when we talk about Artemis 2, Artemis 3 and 4 and going back to the moon, these are the teams that are putting together the missions. They started long ago. And so even if you hadn't heard about it, we've already been planning how do we go to the surface of the moon for quite a while now. And now in my current role, we're actually even looking further beyond, right? We were always looking at Mars, but now we're trying to link exactly what we're doing on the moon to how do we eventually go on to Mars. So this is just a concept diagram, but what we're doing today is not just flags and footprints, which is what we call Apollo, where Apollo went, they had a few missions, and then it was canceled. We're laying the groundwork for what we hope is exploration for many decades to come, so that we always have a continuous human exploration program in the future. So this is the very exciting part of what we're doing, is we're leading NASA to the future. And when we talk about STEM and women in STEM, this is the programs, right? This is not, you haven't missed it. We're barely getting started of what we're gonna do for the moon and Mars, and this is gonna go on for quite some time. So the students today, we need to help us establish this vision for the future. And why do we explore? We explore for many reasons, but fundamentally they come down to three areas. We explore for science. It's the understanding our universe, understanding how the world works, that benefits life on Earth. If we understand our solar system, we understand the mechanics of Earth, we can build the systems to better protect Earth from things like climate change. We go for national posture. It's the development of the economy, the technologies, all of those things. When we develop better solar arrays for our space station, that benefits technologies here on Earth. Water reclamation systems to keep humans alive. All of those things in that technology development and the economy is another reason why this is such a benefit to us as a nation and as a human race. And lastly, inspiration, right? Like I said, nothing inspires you more than the going beyond and the exploring. And as humans, we're driven to explore. And like as a child, I was inspired by human exploration. Others are today. So we explore for many reasons, and some people resonate more with one or the other. But ultimately, it's all of these things that make this value to us. And when we talk about benefiting Earth, right, this is a great picture because it shows you our very, very fragile atmosphere. So this is the Iberian Peninsula, but that thin little atmosphere is all we have protecting us here on Earth. So when we do space research, climate research, and all of this exploration, it will help us protect our only human spaceship, which is planet Earth, better, because we have such a very small window in which we exist here. And this is another one of those tangible reasons. Like the ISS is doing research for medical. It does scientific research. It's doing all sorts of stuff today. And this laboratory has been human tended for over 20 years now. So there are people in college that have never lived in a time we didn't have humans in space. So since 2001, we have had people living on the space station safely and continuously, and this is the legacy we're building off of. The other legacy that we have from ISS is the international partnerships. So a lot of what we learned about working with our international partners, contributing major elements to these engineering endeavors, we learned on ISS in Earth orbit, and we carry with us to the moon. So this is a long legacy we're building off of, and we hope to keep this going for much longer. So off Earth, for Earth, these are just some of the examples of the climate studies, the satellites that are out there that are advancing our understanding of Earth so we can protect what we have today, as well as explore for the future. So there's a lot of what we're doing at NASA, in the science community, in the technology that helps us today, even beyond human exploration, and we can't discount those contributions either. But next is to the moon. So this is where I get most excited, right? This is exploration. So Artemis is so named. The program is Artemis is the twin sister of Apollo in Greek mythology, and it's a truly fitting name because as we look to go back to the moon, we go with all humanity, people of color, women, and all those that represent humanity. So it's a fitting name to be named for Artemis, the sister of Apollo, as we build on the Apollo legacy. So as we mentioned, right, this is about equity, and for humanity, we can go together, representing everyone. And as we go, we saw a video for Artemis 1, which was our uncrewed flight test. Coming up next year, very shortly, we intend to send humans on the first mission beyond low Earth orbit in my lifetime, right? No one has left low Earth orbit since 1972. So I haven't gotten to witness this. Most of the people working on this program haven't gotten to witness human exploration. And truly, more than half the people alive on planet Earth today were not alive the last time something like this happened. So this is a truly monumental thing that is occurring and intends to continue. So some of the examples of other systems already in work. By Artemis 3, we hope to be on the surface of the moon. We've already got a contractor in SpaceX and the Starship planned for the lander. We're building an orbiting laboratory around the moon in Gateway, and then we'll continue building systems such as a rover to carry the crew around. So this is a multi-decadal program that we've established, and we're only just getting started. So a lot of these hardware systems are in development, but there's so much left to go. We truly need an excited workforce to continue this into the future. And nothing can be more exciting than the humans that we put in human space flight. So just last week, if you saw it in the news, we announced the crew. I couldn't be more excited for this crew. They're truly friends of mine. Christina and I go to get lunch, and she canceled lunch on me because she had to go find out that she was going to be on this flight. So I forgive her. But it'll be very exciting to see them fly. I'm very excited for this crew because if you can't go yourself, you want good people like these to be the people that lead us in human exploration. So truly excited for this crew and what they represent on Artemis 2, and I'm excited that we've built a vehicle that I can believe in and that will safely carry them to the moon and back. So I talked about some of the other systems in development. These are all just concepts. So when I talk about how much work we have to go and the workforce we need for the future, we need rovers, we need big habitats, power systems, science payloads. All of these things are the systems we need to truly do human exploration. We're only establishing the foothold on the moon with these missions. And we've got so much left to do to make this value added for all of those reasons that we talked about before. Because we eventually want to go to Mars. So if we're laying the groundwork for the future, what we do today matters in the systems that we continue to develop for the future. So all of the decisions we make are making sure we don't end up in a dead end on technology. We are building the systems that we can keep growing in the future because we want to make sure this campaign of exploration continues. So here's a good graphic that shows that what we're doing on the moon feeds forward to Mars, and if you really want to extrapolate, you could keep going, because eventually if you wanted to, say, explore Europa around Jupiter, you need the same systems too. So as we work through the systems for the moon, it's truly a training ground for how do we do Martian exploration in the future. But we're already doing Martian exploration today. We have many robots on Mars doing that scientific research. they're sending us data. A lot of that will inform how we do human exploration in the future. So we really have two sets of exploration paths already going on. The science rovers on Mars, the human exploration is building out to catch up. So all of these things are working together, and it's truly a whole enterprise at NASA working together to make this happen for the future. So again, a lot of those systems we've talked about. What we do in orbit around the moon, we're building habitats, because to get to Mars, it takes 9 months. So it's a long journey to Mars. It takes us 5 days to get to the moon. It takes 9 months to get to Mars. So when we are building out these systems, we need to make them ever more capable to make sure that we can continue exploring in the future. And when we talk about this, I mentioned the thousands of people it takes. It truly does take a village to do this work. So it's just a great cross-section of some of that. So we talk about STEM. It's the most visible part of NASA and this workforce and the contractors, but there's all sorts of people, right? We truly do need lawyers too, right? You know, we have to write contracts or things. We have our safety managers. This is my friend Tremaine. So we've got great pictures throughout here. We need graphic designers. So it is not just limited to STEM, and we always need to make sure people remember that, because you know, we all have different skill sets and everyone contributes in a different way. So you can be excited about NASA and not be an engineer too. It's very important what we do brings everyone along, and it really takes everyone to make these missions happen. And then one of the exciting things, and Aaron threw me in there. So but some of the, what we saw in Apollo is you do not see women in leadership positions. So not only do we have women that are astronauts and going beyond, these are some of the fantastic women I work with that are all throughout in leadership positions. This is my boss, Kathy, right? So, and Lakeisha, these are all some fantastic women. Michelle's our Mars architecture lead. So when we talk about women in leadership positions, it's truly different than it was in Apollo. So not just the astronauts, but the engineering, the science, and all of the supporting staff. Truly women and people of color are infused throughout NASA. And so again, I'll actually note recently, all 3 of the major human spaceflight centers, Johnson Space Center, Marshall Space Flight Center in Alabama, and Kennedy in Florida, are also led by women. So it's truly a great time to be a woman at NASA, and really anyone at NASA, but it's just exciting for the women to see people in such leadership positions as well. So if you're looking to find places in space, there's some great information here. Lots of ways to get involved. Everything from, this Space Advisory Council is run with the conference. Space University is a great way to meet people internationally. They have master's programs and the summer programs. And then the internship information for both U.S. citizens and non-U.S. is shown at the bottom. Lots of opportunities to get involved, not just at NASA, but with the contractors, right? When we talk about going to space, we're going SpaceX, Boeing, Lockheed, a lot of small companies too. It's more than just NASA. It's everyone that it takes to put this together. And then when we talk about internationals, right, we've talked about the space station and ESA, the European Space Agency, helping on Orion. This is truly a program to benefit humanity, and the Artemis Accords are a philosophical means of how we explore, that we do this for humanity in a peaceful way. I think there's 23 on the slide, so I can count them real quick. Signatories so far. So this is an international coalition looking to return to the moon in a coordinated, peaceful way. So it's very exciting to be a part of this for this reason too, because most of us choose to work in this industry to put something good in the world, and this is how we can do that. So with that, let's go to questions.